Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Our first story is titled, Parents Tried to Force Me to Drop Out of College for a Family Business. I never thought I'd be in this position, caught between my dreams and my family's expectations. But here I was, a 20-year-old college sophomore being pressured to give up everything I'd worked for to take over my parents' struggling business. It all started during winter break of my second year at State University. I was at home for the holidays, looking forward to relaxing and catching up with family and friends. My parents owned a small chain of local hardware stores that had been in the family for generations. Growing up, I'd spent countless hours stocking shelves and working the cash register, but I never saw it in my future. From a young age, I was fascinated by science and technology. I dreamed of becoming an engineer and inventing things that could change the world. My parents always seemed supportive, encouraging me to get good grades and apply to top colleges. When I got accepted to State U's prestigious engineering program, they threw me a big party and told all their friends how proud they are. So I was caught completely off guard. They sat me down for a serious talk. "Sweetie, we need to discuss your future," my mom began, her voice overly cheerful in a way that immediately put me on edge. My dad nodded gravely. "Son, you know the family business has been struggling lately. The big box stores are killing us. We need to make some changes if we're going to survive." I shifted uncomfortably on the couch. "Okay, what kind of changes?" They exchanged a look before my dad continued. "Well, your mom and I have been talking, and we think it's time for some new blood to take over. Someone with fresh ideas who can modernize things and bring in younger customers." My stomach dropped as I realized where this was going. "Wait, are you saying you want me to take over the business?" "Exactly!" My mom beamed at me like just solved a difficult puzzle. "We think you'll be perfect. You're so good with computers and all that technical stuff. You could set up online ordering, maybe even drone deliveries." I stared at them in disbelief. "But I'm in college. I'm studying to be an engineer." My dad waved his hand dismissively. "College will always be there if you want to go back someday. But the family needs you now. This business has been in our family for 4 generations. We can't let it die." "We're not asking you to drop out right this second," my mom added quickly. "But maybe you could transfer to community college, take some business classes, and you could start working at the stores part-time, learning the ropes." My mind was reeling. This couldn't be happening. "I don't want to transfer schools," I said firmly. "I love my program. I have a scholarship. My whole future is there." My dad's expression hardened. "Your future is right here with your family. Do you know how many kids would kill for the opportunity to take over an established business? You should be grateful." "Grateful?" I sputtered. "For you trying to derail my entire life plan?" "Don't be so dramatic," my mom scolded. "We're trying to secure your future. Engineering is so competitive these days, but you'll be set for life with the family business." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I appreciate that you're thinking about my future, but this isn't what I want. I've never wanted to run the hardware stores. My passion is engineering." "Passion doesn't pay the bills," my dad snapped. "You need to think practically. The business needs you." "No, you need me," I retorted. "You're the ones who chose to run this business. It's not my responsibility to save it." My mom gasped. "How could you be so selfish after everything we've done for you?" "Selfish?" I laughed bitterly. "I'm selfish for wanting to live my own life, for following through on the plans you encouraged me to make." My dad stood up, looming over me. "That's enough. You're being disrespectful. Go to your room and think about your priorities. Family should come first." I stormed upstairs, slamming my bedroom door like an angry teenager. I flopped onto my bed, my mind racing. How could they spring this on me out of nowhere? Did they really expect me to give up everything I'd worked for? The next few days were tense. My parents kept trying to corner me to discuss the plan, but I avoided them as much as possible. I spent most of my time in my room or out with friends, dreading the moment I'd have to face them again. Finally, 2 days before I was set to head back to school, they cornered me in the kitchen. "Have you given any more thought to our discussion?" my mom asked tentatively. I sighed. Yes, I have, and my answer is still no. I'm not dropping out or transferring schools. I'm going back to State U to continue my engineering degree. My dad's face turned red. This isn't a request, it's a requirement. As long as we're paying for your education, you'll do as we say. Fine, I said, my voice shaking. Then I'll guess you're not paying for my education anymore. I'll figure it out on my own. My mom burst into tears. How can you do this to us? Don't you care about the family at all? Of course I care, I said, softening lightly. But forcing me to give up my dreams isn't the answer. There must be other options for the business. Like what? My dad scoffed. I thought for a moment, what about hiring a manager to oversee things? Or bringing in a consultant to help modernize? You could even look into selling if it's really not sustainable anymore. Absolutely not, my dad thundered. This business stays in the family. End of discussion. I threw up my arms in frustration. Then I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry, but I won't be the one to take it over. My mind is made up. With that, I turned and walked out of the kitchen, ignoring my mom's sobs and my dad's angry muttering. I knew this wouldn't be the end of it, but I was determined to stand my ground. The next day, as I was packing a return to school, my dad appeared in my doorway. Your mom and I have been talking, he said gruffly. If you insist on continuing this foolishness, you're on your own. Don't expect any more tuition money or allowance from us. My heart sank, but I nodded. I understand. I'll figure it out. He stared at me for a long moment, like he was waiting for me to change my mind. When I said nothing, he shook his head sadly. I hope you know what you're doing, son. You're throwing away a golden opportunity. As he walked away, I collapsed onto my bed, finally letting the tears flow. How had things gone so wrong so quickly? I knew my parents thought they were doing what was best for me, but couldn't they see how miserable I'd be giving up on my dreams? The drive back to campus the next day was long and lonely. For the first time, my parents didn't come to help me move in or say goodbye. As I unpacked my things, my roommate noticed something was off. You okay, man? He asked. You seem down. I hesitated, then found myself spilling the whole story. He listened sympathetically, shaking his head in disbelief. That's rough, he said when I finished. What are you going to do? I took a deep breath. I'm going to stay in school, no matter what it takes. I can't give up on my dreams. He clapped me on the shoulder. Good for you. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into figuring out how to stay in school without my parents' support. I met with the financial aid office, applied for every scholarship I could find, and started looking for part-time jobs. It wasn't easy. I had to drop to a reduced course load to make time for work, which meant it would take me longer to graduate. I moved out of my comfortable dorm into a tiny off-campus apartment with 3 roommates to save on rent. My diet consisted mainly of ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. But despite the challenges, I felt a sense of pride in supporting myself. For the first time, I was truly independent. I was proving to myself and my parents that I could make it on my own. Still, it hurt that my parents had essentially cut me off. They rarely called or texted, and when they did, it was stilted and awkward. I missed our easy relationship from before, but I wasn't willing to give in to their demands. About 2 months into the semester, I got an unexpected call from my Aunt Sarah, my dad's sister. Hey, she said when I answered, how are you holding up? I was surprised to hear from her. We'd always been close, but I figured she'd side with my parents in this situation. I'm okay, I said cautiously. It's been tough, but I'm making it work. She sighed heavily. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I want you to know that I think you're doing the right thing. Following your dreams is important. I felt a lump form in my throat. Thanks, Aunt Sarah. That means a lot. Listen, she continued, I know your parents cut you off financially. I like to help if I can. It won't be much, but I could send you a little money each month to help with expenses. I was floored by her generosity. Aunt Sarah, that's so kind of you, but won't my parents be upset? She chuckled. Oh, I'm sure they will be, but I'm a grown woman. I can do what I want with my money. Besides, someone needs to support you in this family. With Aunt Sarah's help and my own hard work, I managed to stay afloat financially. It wasn't easy, but I was making it work. My grades stayed strong despite my reduced course load and part-time job. I even managed to land a prestigious internship for the summer. As the school year came to an end, I realized I hadn't been home since winter break. Part of me dreaded going back and facing my parents, but I also missed them terribly. Despite everything, they were still my family. So when summer break rolled around, I packed up my beat-up car and made the long drive home. As I pulled into our driveway, my stomach was in knots. Would they even want to see me? To my surprise, both my parents came out to greet me. My mom hugged me tightly, tears in her eyes. My dad clapped me on the back, his expression a mix of pride and lingering disappointment. "Welcome home, son," he said gruffly. "We've missed you." Over dinner that night, there was an uneasy truce. We carefully avoided any mention of school or the family business, sticking to safe topics like the weather and local gossip. But I could feel the tension simmering beneath the surface. Finally, as we were clearing the dishes, my mom broached the subject. How is school going?" she asked hesitantly. I took a deep breath. "It's going well. I made the dean's list both semesters, even with my reduced course load. And I start an internship next week with a big engineering firm downtown." My dad's eyebrows shot up. "Downtown? You mean you're staying here for the summer?" I nodded. "Yeah, I got an apartment with some other interns. It's a great opportunity." There was an awkward silence before my mom spoke again. We're proud of you, honey. It can't have been easy managing on your own." "It hasn't been," I admitted, "but I'm making it work, and I'm learning a lot about budgeting and being independent." My dad cleared his throat. "Son, I think we owe you an apology. We shouldn't have tried to force you into taking over the business. It was wrong of us to put that pressure on you." I was stunned. This was the last thing I expected to hear. "Thank you," I said softly. "That means a lot." My mom reached out and squeezed my hand. "We were scared," she confessed. "The business has been struggling for years, and we didn't know what else to do, but that's not your burden to bear." "What changed your minds?" I asked. My dad sighed heavily. "A lot of things. Seeing how determined you were to make it on your own, realizing how miserable you'd be if we forced you into a life you didn't want, and, well, your Aunt Sarah gave us quite the talking to." I couldn't help but smile at that. Good old Aunt Sarah. "We've decided to sell the business," my dad continued. "It's time to let it go. We can't keep pouring money into a sinking ship." I was shocked. The hardware stores have been such a huge part of our family for so long. "Are you sure? What will you do?" My mom smiled. "We're not sure yet, but we're actually excited about the possibilities. Your dad is thinking about going back to school to become a teacher, and I might finally pursue that interior design course I've always wanted to take." "That's great," I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "I'm happy for you guys." My dad reached out and put his hand on my shoulder. "We're sorry we let things get so bad between us. Can you forgive us?" I felt tears prick at my eyes. "Of course, you're my parents. I love you." We shared a group hug, all of us a little teary-eyed. It wasn't a perfect resolution. There was still hurt and trust to rebuild on both sides, but it was a start. Over the next few weeks, as I threw myself into my internship, I also spent time reconnecting with my parents. We had long talks about our hopes and dreams, our fears and regrets. Slowly but surely, we began to heal the rift between us. One night, as we sat on the back porch watching the sunset, my dad turned to me with a serious expression. "I want you to know how proud we are of you," he said. "Not just for your academic achievements, but for standing up for yourself and your dreams. It couldn't have been easy going against us like that." I shook my head. It wasn't. There were so many times I almost gave in, almost came home, but I knew I had to see it through. My mom reached out and squeezed my hand. You've grown up so much this past year. You're not our little boy anymore. You're a strong, independent young man. We were wrong to try to hold you back, my dad added. Your future is bright, son. Don't let anyone, not even us, stand in your way. I felt a lump form in my throat. Thanks, Dad. That means everything to me. As the summer drew to a close and I prepared to return to school for my junior year, things felt different. The air between my parents and me was lighter, free from the weight of unmet expectations and resentment. My dad insisted on helping me move back into my off-campus apartment, just like he used to do with my dorm. As we carried boxes up the narrow staircase, he cleared his throat awkwardly. Your mom and I have been talking, he began. We'd like to start helping out with your tuition again, if you'll let us. I nearly dropped the box I was holding. Are you serious? He nodded. We realized how wrong we were to use money as leverage to control you. That's not what parents should do. We want to support your dreams, not hold you back from them. I felt tears prick at my eyes. Thanks, Dad. That would help a lot. He clapped me on the shoulder. You're welcome, son. Just promise me one thing. Don't give up that part-time job entirely. The work ethic and budgeting skills you've learned this past year will serve you well in life. I grinned. Don't worry, I won't. Those lessons are too valuable to forget. As we finished unloading the car, my dad pulled me into a tight hug. I'm so proud of you, he said gruffly. You're going to do great things. I just know it. Watching him drive away, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. College never is, but I knew I had the strength and support to face whatever challenges came my way. That night, as I settled into my tiny apartment, I reflected on the tumultuous year behind me. I'd faced one of the hardest challenges of my life, standing up to my parents and fighting for my dreams. It had been painful and scary, but ultimately worth it. I'd learned so much about myself, my resilience, my determination, my ability to stand on my own 2 feet. But I also learned the value of forgiveness and the importance of family. My parents and I had come out the other side of this conflict stronger and closer than ever. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a sense of excitement for the future. I didn't know exactly where my engineering degree would take me, but I knew I had the support of my family behind me every step of the way. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them head on, armed with the knowledge that I could overcome anything if I stayed true to myself and my dreams. The family hardware stores might be gone, but our family bond was stronger than ever. It was sad to see the business go, but with its resistance to change and my own goals for the future, I think it was time for it to be part of the past. And in the end, its last act was to bring our family together. I think it's a fitting conclusion. Really. Here are my thoughts about the story. How messed up is it that these parents just dropped this bomb on their kid out of nowhere? Like, imagine busting your butt to get into a good engineering program, thinking your folks are proud of you, and then bam! They're all like, surprise! We need you to throw all that away and run our failing hardware stores. Talk about a plot twist, am I right? And I mean, an engineering degree of all things is something you practically never hear a parent complain about. It's an insanely hard course with insanely high-paying job prospects. I'd have thought my parents would be proud to have a child in engineering, but not these two, I guess. But for real, I gotta give mad props to our guy for sticking to his guns. It takes some serious cojones to stand up to your parents like that, especially when they're holding the purse strings. When he said he'd figure it out on his own, I was like, damn, this dude's got some more backbone than a stegosaurus. And let me tell you, when the parents cut him off financially, I was ready to reach through the screen and give them a piece of my mind. But then I had to take a step back and think about it from their perspective too. They're watching their family legacy crumble, and they're scared. Doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does make it a little more understandable. Now, can we talk about Aunt Sarah for a hot minute? That lady is the real MVP of this story, stepping up to help out her nephew and even giving his parents a talking to. We all need an Aunt Sarah in our lives, for real. The part that really got me, though, was when the parents finally came around. That apology? Chef's kiss. It's not often you see parents admit they were wrong and actually support their kids' dreams. It was like watching the Grinch's heart grow 3 sizes. Well, maybe not that. Does the Grinch ever have a heart? Never mind, I'm getting off topic. Here's the thing that really struck with me after reading this story. It's so easy to get caught up in what other people want for us. Our parents, our friends, society in general, but at the end of the day, we've got to live our own lives. We've the ones who have to wake up every day and do the work. So it better be something we're passionate about. This kid could have taken the easy route. He could have given in, taken over the family business, and had a secure, if unfulfilling future. But he chose to bet on himself instead. He worked his butt off, ate ramen for dinner, and shared a tiny apartment with 3 other dudes, all to follow his dreams. That's some inspiring stuff right there. And you know what? I bet he's going to be a way better engineer because of all this. He's learned how to budget, how to work hard, how to stand up for himself. Those are skills you can't learn in a classroom, folks. So if you're out there and you're facing a similar situation, maybe your parents want you to be a doctor, but you want to be an artist, or they want you to take over the family farm, but you dream of being a software developer. Remember this story. Remember that it's okay to forge your own path. It might be hard, it might be scary, but it's worth it to live a life that's true to who you are.
And now, guys, we will move on to the second story of the video. Please like the video if you have enjoyed it so far. The story starts like this.
Parents tried to force me to marry my high school bully. My name's Eve, and I'm 24 years old. This whole mess started about 6 months ago, but to really understand it, we need to go back to my high school days. I wasn't exactly popular in high school. I was the quiet girl who preferred books to people in general and spent most of my free time in the library or alone in a corner of a quiet classroom. That made me an easy target for guys like Kush. Kush was everything I wasn't: outgoing, athletic, popular, and mean as hell. He made my life miserable for 4 years straight. It started with the usual stuff: pointedly excluding me from meetups, bumping into me in the halls, that sort of thing. But as we got older, it escalated. He'd spread rumors about me, hack into my social media accounts to post embarrassing things, and once even had his girlfriend at the time steal my clothes during gym class, forcing me to wear my sweaty gym uniform for the rest of the day. The worst part? Our parents were friends. My mom and Kush's mom had known each other since college, and they were still best friends. This meant I couldn't even escape Kush during holidays or summer breaks. Our families would get together, and I'd have to pretend everything was fine while Kush smirked at me from across the dinner table. I thought I'd finally escape when we graduated. I went off to college on the other side of the country, determined to start fresh. And for a while it worked. I made new friends, discovered my passion for computer science, and even had my first real relationship. For the first time in years, I felt happy and confident. After graduation, I landed a great job at a tech startup in San Francisco. I was living my dream far away from my hometown and the memories of high school. I thought that chapter of my life was closed for good. Boy, was I wrong. It all started with a phone call from my mom about 6 months ago. I was in my apartment working on a new project for work when my phone rang. "Eve, honey, how are you?" My mom's voice was overtly cheerful, which immediately put me on edge. "I'm good, Mom. What's up?" I asked, already suspicious. "Well, your father and I have been thinking. You're 24 now, and you haven't brought anyone home in ages. We're worried you're getting too focused on your career and forgetting about your personal life. I sighed. We'd had this conversation before. Mom, I'm fine. I'm just busy with work right now. I'll start dating when I'm ready. That's just it, sweetie. We think we've found a perfect person for you. My stomach dropped. Mom, please tell me you're not trying to set me up with someone. There was a pause. Then my mom said, do you remember Kush? I nearly dropped my phone. Kush? My high school bully Kush? Mom, you can't be serious. Now, Eve, I know you two had your differences in high school, but Kush has changed. He's grown up a lot since then. He's working at his father's company now, and he's doing very well for himself. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mom, Kush made my life hell for 4 years. He's the last person on earth I'd want to date. That's all in the past, sweetie. Kush has expressed interest in reconnecting with you. His mother and I think you two would make a wonderful couple. I was speechless. My own mother was trying to set me up with a guy who had tormented me throughout high school. It was like a bad dream. Mom, absolutely not. I'm not interested in Kush, and I never will be. Please drop this. I could hear the disappointment in her voice. Just think about it, Eve. That's all I'm asking. I ended the call as quickly as I could, my mind reeling. I hoped that would be the end of it, but I should have known better. Over the next few weeks, my parents bombarded me with calls and messages, all pushing me to give Kush a chance. They sent me photos of him, told me about his job and his accomplishments, and kept insisting that he had changed. I try to reason with them. Mom, Dad, I appreciate that you're concerned about my love life, but this isn't the way to go about it. Kush bullied me for years. Those aren't the kind of memories you just get over. My dad's voice came through the speaker. Honey, everyone makes mistakes when they're young. Kush is a different person now. He's mature, successful, and he comes from a good family. You should at least meet him and see for yourself. I was getting frustrated. Why are you pushing this so hard? There are plenty of other people out there. Why Kush? There was a pause, and then my mom spoke up. Well, sweetie, the thing is, we've already told Kush's parents that you'd be interested. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. You did what? We didn't mean to get ahead of ourselves, my dad jumped in. But Kush's parents were so excited about the idea, and well, we may have gotten a bit carried away. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So, you're trying to set me up with my high school bully because you made a promise to his parents? Do you realize how insane that sounds? Eve, please, my mom pleaded. Just come home for a weekend, meet with Kush. If you still don't like him after that, we'll drop the whole thing. I wanted to refuse to hang up and block their numbers. But a small part of me hoped that if I went home and showed them how ridiculous this idea was, they'd finally let it go. Fine, I said, defeated. 1 weekend, but after that, I don't want to hear another word about Kush. I could practically hear their smiles through the phone. Wonderful, my mom explained. We'll set everything up. How about 2 weeks from now? I agreed, already dreading the upcoming visit. As soon as I hung up, I started planning my strategy. I'd go home, be polite but distant with Kush, and make it clear to everyone that there was no chance of a relationship. Then I'd go back to my life in San Francisco and put this whole mess behind me. Little did I know, my parents had much bigger plans in mind. 2 weeks later, I found myself on a plane back to my hometown. As I watched the familiar landscape come into view, I felt a mix of nostalgia and anxiety. I hadn't been back in over a year, and now I was returning under the strangest circumstances imaginable. My parents picked me up from the airport, all smiles and excitement. They chatted the whole way home about how much had changed in town, how excited they were to have me back, and of course, how great Kush was doing. He's really become such a fine young man, my mom gushed. Did we tell you he's been promoted to vice president at his father's company? I nodded, trying to tune out their praises of Kush. When we got home, I was surprised to see cars parked all along our street. What's going on? I asked, a sense of dread growing in my stomach. My dad looked a bit sheepish. Well, we thought it would be nice to have a little welcome home party for you. Just a few close friends and family. As we walked into the house, I realized a few was an understatement. The place was packed with people, many of whom I barely recognized. And there in the center of it all was Kush. He looked different from how I remembered it. He was wearing a sharp suit, his hair neatly styled, and he had a confident smile on his face. As soon as he saw me, he made his way over. Eve, it's great to see you. He held out his hand for me to shake. I hesitated for a moment before shaking it briefly. Hi, Kush. I hear you're doing big things out in San Francisco. Tech startup, right? That's awesome. I nodded, feeling uncomfortable. It was surreal to be having a casual conversation with the guy who had made my teenage years a living hell. Listen, Kush said, lowering his voice. I know things were rough between us in high school. I was a real jerk back then, and I want you to know I'm sorry for how I treated you. I was taken aback by his apology. It seemed sincere, but years of torment don't just disappear with a few words. Thanks for saying that, I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. It means a lot. Kush smiled, looking relieved. I'm glad. I was hoping we could start fresh, Maybe grab a coffee while you're in town and catch up properly. Before I could respond, my mom appeared at my side. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Why don't you two go out tomorrow? I'm sure you have so much to talk about. I wanted to protest, but I could see the hopeful looks on both my parents' faces. I sighed internally. Sure, why not? The rest of the evening was a blur of small talk and awkward interactions. I did my best to avoid Kush, but in a house full of people eager to push us together, it wasn't easy. By the time the last guest left, I was exhausted and irritated. Well, that wasn't so bad, was it? My mom asked as we cleaned up. I gave her a look. Mom, I agreed to come home and meet Kush. I didn't agree to a party where everyone treated us like we were already a couple. My dad chimed in. Honey, we're just trying to help. Kush is a great catch, and we think you two could really hit it off if you give it a chance. I shook my head, too tired to argue. I'm going to bed. Good night. The next morning, I woke up to find my mom had already called Kush and arranged for us to meet for coffee at 11. I briefly considered canceling, but I knew it would only lead to more pressure from my parents. So at 10:45, I found myself walking into the local coffee shop, steeling myself for an awkward encounter. Kush was already there, waving me over to a table. Hey, Eve, I got you a latte. I remember you used to like those in high school. I was surprised he remembered something like that. Thanks, I said, sitting down. We made small talk for a while, discussing our jobs and catching up on mutual acquaintances. It was strange how easy the conversation flowed, considering our history. Finally, Kush broached the subject we'd both been avoiding. Look, Eve, I know our parents are pushing this whole thing pretty hard. I want you to know that I'm not expecting anything. I meant what I said yesterday about being sorry for how I treated you in high school. I took a sip of my latte, considering my words carefully. I appreciate that, Kush, and I'm glad you've grown and changed since then. But you have to understand, those years were really tough for me. It's not something I can just forget. Kush nodded, looking genuinely remorseful. I get it. I was a real asshole back then, and you have every right to hate me. I guess I just hope that maybe we could start over, Not necessarily as a couple, but maybe as friends. I was torn. On one hand, Kush seemed sincere in his apology and his desire to make amends. On the other hand, the memories of all he'd put me through were still vivid in my mind. I don't know, Kush. It's a lot to process. I think I need some time to think about it. He nodded, understanding. Of course, take all the time you need. And hey, if you decide you don't want anything to do with me, I'll understand. I'll tell our parents to back off too. I appreciated his offer, but I had a feeling my parents wouldn't give up so easily. We finished our coffee and parted ways, with Kush reiterating his apology and his hope that we could at least be on good terms. As I walked home, my mind was buzzing with conflicting thoughts. Kush seemed genuinely remorseful and had clearly matured since high school. But could I really forgive him for all the pain he'd caused me? I was so lost in thought that I almost didn't notice my parents waiting eagerly for me when I got home. "How did it go?" my mom asked, practically bouncing with excitement. I sighed. "It was okay." Kush apologized for how he treated me in high school. "He seems different now." My parents exchanged gleeful looks. "That's wonderful," my dad exclaimed. "See, we told you he'd change." "Slow down," I said, holding up my hands. "Just because we had one civil conversation doesn't mean I'm ready to date him. I need time to process all of this." My mom's face fell slightly. "But sweetie, you two would be so perfect together, and think about how happy it would make both our families." I felt a flare of anger. Is that what this is about? Making our families happy? What about what I want? "Of course we care about what you want," my dad said, trying to smooth things over. "We just think Kush could make you very happy if you give him a chance." I shook my head, frustrated. "I need some air. I'm going for a walk." As I stormed out of the house, I could hear my parents calling after me, but I ignored them. I walked aimlessly through the neighborhood, trying to sort out my feelings. On one hand, Kush did seem genuinely sorry for his past behavior. People can change, and maybe he truly had become a better person. But on the other hand, the idea of being with someone who had caused me so much pain felt wrong on a fundamental level. And then there were my parents. I knew they meant well, but their pushiness was starting to feel suffocating. It was clear they had their hearts set on me and Kush getting together, regardless of how I felt about it. As I walked, I realized that I needed to take a stand. This wasn't just about Kush anymore. It was about my parents respecting my choices and my autonomy as an adult. With a newfound sense of determination, I headed back home. I found my parents in the living room, looking worried. "Eve, we were getting concerned," my mom said. "Where have you been?" I took a deep breath. "I've been thinking and I've made a decision. I'm not going to pursue anything with Kush, not a relationship, not even a friendship, and I need you both to respect that." My parents exchanged glances. "But Eve," my dad started, "if you just give him a chance, you might realize he's a better match than you'd think." I held up a hand to stop him. "No, this isn't up for discussion. Kush bullied me for years. He made my life miserable. Even if he's changed now, those memories don't just go away. I have the right to choose who I want in my life, and I'm choosing not to have Kush in it." My mom looked crestfallen. "But sweetie, we really think Kush could be good for you, and his family is so close to ours." "I don't care about his family," I interrupted, my voice firm. "This is my life, not yours. I'm an adult now, and I need you to respect my decisions, even if you don't agree with them." There was a long, tense silence. Then, to my shock, my dad spoke up. "If that's how you really feel, then maybe you're not the daughter we raised. We've always wanted what's best for you, and if you can't see that, then perhaps it's best you don't come home again." I felt like I'd been slapped. "What?" My mom fidgeted, her face hardening. "Your father's right. If you're going to be this selfish and ungrateful, maybe it's better we go our separate ways." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own parents were disowning me because I wouldn't date my high school bully. It was surreal and heartbreaking all at once. "Fine," I said, fighting back tears. "If that's how you feel, then I guess this is goodbye." I ran upstairs, quickly packed my bags, and called a cab to take me to the airport. As I waited outside for my cab, I saw my parents watching me from the window. My mom's expression wasn't just disappointment. There was something else there, something that made my heart sink even further. Just as the cab pulled up, my mom came rushing out of the house. For a moment, I thought she might have had a change of heart, but her words crushed that hope. "Eve," she said, her voice trembling, "I need you to understand. This isn't just about you and Kush. It's about our families, our history." I stared at her, uncomprehending. "What are you talking about, Mom?" She took a deep breath. "Kush's mother, she's been my best friend for decades. We've always dreamed of our children getting together, of uniting our families. Can't you see how important this is?" The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't about my happiness at all. It was about my mother's relationship with Kush's mom. "So that's it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You care more about Kush's mom than you do about me?" My mother's silence was all the answer I needed. "I can't believe this," I said, fighting back tears. "You're choosing your friend over your own daughter?" "Eve, please try to understand," she started, but I cut her off. "No, Mom, I understand perfectly. You care more about making your old friend happy than you do about my well-being. You're willing to push me into a relationship with someone who tormented me for years, all to fulfill some fantasy you two cooked up." My mother's face crumpled, but she didn't deny it. "We just thought if you and Kush got together, everything would be perfect. Our families would be joined and we could be like real sisters." "And what about what I want?" I interrupted. "What about my feelings, my dreams, my life?" She looked away, unable to meet my eyes. "I'm sorry, Eve, but if you can't do this one thing for me, for our family..." I shook my head, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "Some family? You know what? If this is how little you care about me, then maybe it is better if I don't come home again." I turned and got into the cab, my heart breaking as I watched my mother standing there, torn between her loyalty to her friend and her love for her daughter. And later, as I boarded my flight back to San Francisco, I realized that this experience, as painful as it was, had taught me valuable lessons about self-worth, boundaries, and the importance of staying true to myself. I was returning to San Francisco alone, but stronger and more self-assured than ever. I made a silent promise to myself. I would live my life on my own terms, pursuing my own happiness and success, and if my parents ever came around and were willing to respect my choices, I'd be open to reconciliation. But until then, I would forge ahead, building a life and future that was truly my own. The city lights of San Francisco twinkled below as we descended, welcoming me back to the life I had chosen for myself. I smiled through my tears, feeling a bittersweet sense of freedom. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew I was ready to face them on my own terms. Here are my thoughts about this story. First off, can we talk about Eve's parents? Like, what in the actual hell were they thinking? I mean, I get it. We all want our kids to be happy and successful, but trying to set your daughter up with a dude who made her life a living nightmare for 4 years? That's some next level delusion right there. It's like they were living in their own personal Hallmark movie or something. And not even as the heroes, but as the villains. And Kush, oh boy, Kush, I gotta give the guy some credit for at least trying to apologize. But come on, man, you can't just say sorry and expect everything to be hunky-dory. That's not how trauma works, my dudes. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound and calling it a day. But the real kicker, the thing that had me yelling at my screen like a lunatic, was when Eve's mom dropped that bomb about Kush's mother. I mean, talk about a plot twist. Here I was thinking this was just about some misguided parents trying to play matchmaker, and then what? Turns out the mom cares more about her best friend than her own daughter. Her priorities were scrambled, screwed, and tossed into the garbage disposal. Because what in the world? When you have a child, they should be a strong priority in your life, not the best friend living her own life. Don't get me wrong, your friend should still be a priority, but compared to your own daughter, making that decision should not have been nearly as easy for her as it was. You know what really gets me, though? The fact that Eve's parents were willing to disown her over this. Like, are you kidding me? Your daughter refuses to date her former bully, and your response is, well, guess you're not our kid anymore. That's messed up on so many levels. I've seen people treat their Netflix accounts with more loyalty than these parents showed their own flesh and blood. But here's the thing that really stuck with me about this story. It's not about a girl standing up to her parents or refusing to date her ex-bully. It's about the pressure we put on people to forgive and forget, even when they're not ready. It's about how sometimes the people who are supposed to have our backs are the ones who end up stabbing us in them. And most importantly, it's about learning to stand up for yourself, even when it means losing people you thought you could always count on. I gotta say, I have mad respect for Eve. Girl went through hell in high school, thought she'd escaped it all, and then the door gets kicked down. Life's like, surprise, sweetheart, I'm not done with you yet. But instead of caving into the pressure, she stood her ground. And even though it cost her family, she chose herself. And with her parents acting the way they were, she was completely in the right here. You know, it's easy to sit here and judge Eve's parents, to call them horrible people and be done with it. But the scary thing is, I bet there are a lot of parents out there who might do something similar. Maybe not to this extreme, but how many of us have had our parents try to push us into careers or relationships we didn't want, all in the name of what's best for us? It's a wake-up call, really, a reminder that at the end of the day, we got to live our own lives, make our own choices, even if it means disappointing the people we love. So, to all you Eves out there dealing with pressures from family, friends, or society to do things that just don't sit tight with you, remember this story. Remember that it's okay to say no, to set boundaries, to choose your own path. It might be hard, it might be painful, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your choices. So make sure they're choices you can live with.
Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.